Welcome back. Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And in studio, I have somebody that I met this year. And since meeting, definitely when it comes to meeting and making connections, this is what she's about. It was actually a workshop series connected to the Women's History Month event that Black Tech Saturdays did, right? And it was only a couple workshops I went to. I went to that workshop. It's kind of just like we were in there, and then I'm like, okay, this is interesting because it was very engaging, very interactive. And then she was like, well, this is only like a step towards what I do with networking all the time and really seeing that networking plays a key, vital role in business and it can be something, right? So I'm like, interesting. Erika Monaé Lewis, how are you today?
I'm good. How about you?
All is well. All is well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
And so we start these Detroit is Different always with the same root question, and then the branches just start going. You were like, what we going to talk about? We going to talk about you and your journey.
I was like, are you setting me up? What's happening right now?
Exactly. It's like, all right, no, it's not a secret camera or anything, another showdown. So let's start here. You and your family, how many generations deep is your family to the Detroit area?
How deep? Let's see. My grandmother moved up here from Mississippi, well, really Tennessee. So my grandmother was born in Olive Branch, Mississippi.
You said Olive Branch?
Olive Branch, yes.
Wow, I've never even.
Yes. It's so if you know where Memphis, Tennessee is.
Yes.
And you know how sometimes you can cross the street and you're in the next state.
Yeah.
If you cross the street in Memphis, Tennessee, there's Olive Branch, Mississippi.
Okay.
And so my grandmother was born there. My mother was born there as well. They moved to Memphis, and then after Memphis, they moved to Detroit.
Okay.
So generational wise, I'm only going back 2 generations. That's in the D.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and that's where oftentimes a lot of the roots of the families in the migration here, Black folks are like Alabama, Georgia. Definitely, when I think Mississippi, a lot of those people went like Chicago, Milwaukee, like further west. Sometimes even to California and Texas and things like that. But making their way to Detroit. Do you know what was it about the Detroit where they were like, yo, we leaving Memphis and we going to Detroit?
Yeah. So for my grandmother, it was her sister, actually. So it was my great aunt that was here, her and her husband, and they were like the only ones here.
Okay.
Everyone else was really still in Memphis. And so my grandmother wanted to be up here with her sister.
Okay, there you go. And then that brings you.
And here I am, right?
All right, so
what she wanted to do.
So from there, your mom definitely somebody that loved the D, obviously has stayed and everything. Yep. What's the neighborhood that you remember most as a child being like where you came up?
The neighborhood I remember most as a child, honestly, all of it. So when I was born, we used to live on a street called Drex on the east side, deep east. And then we moved still deep east. We were like Dickerson and Connor area. And then the neighborhood that really where I grew up was right on, I lived on a street called Rosemary. So if you're familiar with like the city airport area, the 9th precinct, I believe is what it is, on Gratiot and Gunston.
Yep.
That was my whole area. So I lived specifically between streets, Dickerson and Park Drive. So if you're familiar with the east side, that's where I was all the time.
Definitely. And like I always say, it seems like everybody on the east side is by the airport. But it's like,
wasn't too far from it. So it did take me about like 6 blocks to get to Gratiot. But, but that was my area. That's what I remember most.
Okay, so this area as a child and different folks. I mean, still even over there. Shout out to my man Q Lewis and what he does with E-Block Radio, because he still does his podcast like right in that community. And, it's not that far from like Operation Get Down. The east side has a lot of like culture that's in the mix of the east side, and as a west sider, I'm just telling you all, it does. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm picking one over the other per se, but it's a lot of stuff going on the east side that just, especially like that heartbeat, like that stretch of grass shit, it's entrepreneurs on the corner, like making barbecue, selling it. It is, like if you want to get connected into like something with Black nationalism, is that there? It's the churches. It's people doing like a lot of kids programs from, I forget the name of that center, because Wayne Reese used to do a lot of stuff like right there, like Gratiot and, damn, this is going to bother me. But it's just a lot of energy around there, especially like when I think of like the 90s and 2000s. Things have changed, but it's still
Yeah.
a lot of the heartbeat and a lot of kids over there. So I'm guessing you grew up with like a bunch of friends on the block.
Of course, because we were outside. We were still the
Mhm.
generation that still went outside, right?
Yep.
And so knowing people 6 blocks up,
Mhm.
was common, right? It wasn't just like I just stayed in between Park Drive and Dickerson. Like,
Mhm.
we went down to Ansbury, we went down all the way down to Chalmers. And
Mm.
so people in your neighborhood. So
Okay. And then like I guess that kind of leads into a little bit of how I met you with the networking.
yeah.
What impact do you think being one of the young people that made a lot of connections as friends, like as a child, how does that help, or what do you think that impact is on like some of the business stuff that you do now with networking?
Man, that's a deep question. That's a deep question. And I say that's a deep question because when I think back to my childhood, I think about me being the kid that always wanted to make other people laugh. Not just necessarily as a comedian, but like I enjoyed joy,
Hmm.
right? And so being able to connect with people and genuinely just have laughter and happiness was like a thing for me when I was a kid. And so translating that now into adulthood, translating that now into business, now it's like, I want to see you win. Like, I want to see you grow. And that type of joy is still what I am excited about. And I love what I do in the realm of coaching and consulting and being able to help people understand how you can connect with somebody genuinely, and it don't got to be fake. We can genuinely just say, like, what you got going on? I just want to know, how can I help you?
Okay. All right. So I like that. I'm putting a pin in that, and I'm sure I'm gonna pick up with that a little bit of like sharing in that victory, but also sharing in joy. And joy is one of those adjectives that it's not usually shared as often as I think that exists, especially sometimes now. The weather and the temperatures, and people be like, about
cold.
Detroit. Yes. It's so cold in the D. All right. So school, like middle, high school, did you stay over in that area for that? What was your connection there?
So let's see. My elementary school, I went to Gooddale Elementary School. It's not, it's no longer in existence, but they built another elementary school like in the same area. Like they tore the building down, but then built another elementary school.
Mhm.
And then for middle school, my mom did not want me to go to the neighborhood school. So she applied for me to go to a magnet middle school in Detroit called Dorothy Fisher Magnet Middle School. So that was on King Richard in Detroit. And so I went there for middle school. And from middle school, I went to the Detroit School for the Fine and Performing Arts, so DSA. And so it was like I went deep east all the way west to go to school. So high school was a blast. So if you know the movie Fame, that was my life every day at school. Like everybody had a talent. Everybody had something to say. Everybody just knew they were somebody at school. So that was kind of my journey in DPS.
And DSA is been uplifted on Detroit is Different many a times. More recently through shout out to my guy Orlando Bailey speaking about just the vision of what that was. And I don't know when you're graduating from DSA, but my sister graduated, I want to say maybe the 3rd class there. So when it was in the old Wilbur Wright or Murray Wright building.
That's the building I was into.
And the new building is
nice, isn't it?
It's amazing. And shout out to my cousin Maiwa, Dr. Reynolds, for holding it down there. But it was a different energy and feel there, as so much like, I guess, Fame would be the snapshot that I would give it. And Dr. Cotton now, but at the time, Dr. Davis's vision just for what would come to life of it.
Yeah.
Just also kind of is it's one of those Detroit stories that we definitely got to get in Detroit is Different archive, because what it meant to a lot of those students.
Yeah.
So you were like in that first, some of the first generations of what was happening at DSA as it was even coming together. How did you connect to the school, and what was your creative outlet?
Yeah. So it's so funny. A lot of people don't know this about me, that I'm like a performing arts kid, because I'm so much in like business and professionalism and blah, blah, blah. So, but what got me there is that I had a very huge dream as a kid to become an actress, and I wanted to be a producer and director. I wanted to like direct movies and things of that nature. So, and I always love music. My family is just huge on music. And I would like listen to music, and I can hear like all the instruments in music. And so music for me and arts for me was just life. And so going to DSA, I ended up learning about the school, I want to say through counselors at school. And it wasn't a lot of people from my middle school that was like really interested. It was only a few of us. But I was like, I'm going to apply because I want to do this. Why not? And like you had to audition to get into DSA, your monologues, a whole nine. And so when I got accepted and got in, I was a drama major at DSA. So it was all acting. And yet when you are a performing arts kid, you want to get involved in everything. So you want to do the dancing, you want to do the music and all the things. And you can't really do everything. So you have to focus what your major is going to be. And so I stayed into speech and theater throughout my entire time at DSA. And but I also tried out to be a pomerette and a majorette so I can be a part of the marching band because my biggest dream was to be in the Thanksgiving Day parade. I wanted to be a pomerette in the code. Just marching. I just wanted to do it. My oldest brother took me to the Thanksgiving Day parade every year as a kid.
Wow.
And so we used to always bundle up, get our hot chocolate together. I mean, long johns on top of long johns, layering up every year to go downtown to see the Thanksgiving Day parade. And so I would see the pomerettes always dance. I'm like, oh, I just want to be one of those when I get older. And so I tried out. Like I said, for both squads, and I made both squads.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And like when I think about it, I'm trying to think. I was a non-dance major that made both squads. And in kind of DSA culture, it was mainly dance majors that made the majorettes and pomerettes. And so there was a lot of attention and talk around the town in regards to that. But because I wanted to be a pomerette so bad, I chose to be a pomerette. So I was in the marching band as well. So I was busy.
Wow. All right. And I know, so a couple different things that also like I think impact life along that way too. So from the audition to get in the school and preparing for something like that and the preparations for pomerettes and majorettes, like all of these things are, you're younger, but they're victories that you put work into. And that same connection, how do you think that confidence has impacted some of your approach towards a lot of things and taking chances in life?
That's a good question. I think that because I think the arts is so important to life in general, I think that everyone needs to experience not only just the beauty of art, but also the process and the buildup of what it takes to develop something so beautiful. And sometimes that means falling flat on your face. Sometimes that means a no. But that doesn't mean that's the end. It means that you just need to do something differently next time. Maybe it's just not your time. And so it gave me the outlook of it's not a failure. It's not a complete no, and it's the end of the world. It's more like I now know what I got to do differently. I now know what I should be doing instead of that. So it just gave me a different perspective to keep going and keep trying. And so I think that definitely helped me into adulthood, into business, into my career where failure is never final. So that's how I looked at it.
And I definitely have to ask this, the productions, the plays, I've been to a couple, very, it's like two, because it's like Cass's theater department is like, we was killing. And DSA is like, I'm just saying these discussions have come up here before. But what was your senior or junior, what performance at DSA stands out most for you that you appreciated most? And it was like, I'm liking this.
It was a lot of them.
Okay.
There's a principal showcase, which was always a big deal. I was also on the forensics team my senior year. And so there were a variety of things that we could partake in, and I was in a multiple, and a multiples where there's several individuals really producing a monologue or a script, I would say, and we are literally the sound of. So if, say for example, we were in a boat, we're in the ocean, we have to give the sound effects for the ocean and the boat.
Okay.
And at the same time, we still have the people that were in the boat that's speaking. So we had to provide a visual and the audio for that. So being in a multiple was pretty fun. So that was very memorable for me too. And then we always had this like showcase. I forgot what it was called. It was like a showcase for like Halloween. And there was always like some people that would dress up in certain things. And so I remember dressing up and putting on tap shoes and all the things. So it was a good time.
Okay. And also, I guess this is all like, as you share, like the multiple things, triggering back into imagination, which plays a lot into creativity. But in creativity in business, I think that same imagination must exist because
Absolutely.
we're walking a path where it's like we're creating what the next step is. And sometimes um it's so abstract, it's hard to express to somebody else, but that imagination helps as we continue to engage because so much of the world will tell you like, well, you need to just focus on what we see versus
Yeah.
the direction where we're going.
Yeah, and I think that's the importance of community, right? For people who are creatives, whether you are in the creative world from an art perspective or from a business perspective, you need to be surrounded by like-minded people because sometimes it could get a bit discouraging when no one around you can understand, or even if you don't understand what I'm talking about, you understand my process. So you know that, like, you know what? Keep going. Like, you know what I'm saying? You could be a bit more encouraging and supportive of my process if you were familiar with it, right? So I think to say your question again, because I'm trying to think.
So I was just saying, like, imagination plays one hell of a role, I think. Definitely, obviously, we know in creativity, but in business, because we have to imagine and see the path that we're walking down. And at times, others just don't see it. One of the ways I explained it, and it was actually a comedian that said it like this. It's almost like, you ever had a dream and you try to explain it to a person, and then the person's looking at you like,
What?
like, what drugs are you on? You know what I'm saying? But that's a lot of stuff that starts happening and processing in many of the business vision. So that imagination and having the dream to move forward and carry it out, I think is very key.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when you say that, what popped in my mind was like, what do I do to stay creative and kind of keep going in business, really? And the funny thing is that I tell people like I'm a professional like ad-libber and runner. So any song, no matter the genre, I'm like putting in a run, putting in an ad-lib.
Okay.
And that for me is fun. However, when I'm listening to music and I am like finding moments where I could do a run or doing an ad-lib like that, it just jumps off my creative juices. And I say any song, I'm literally talking like any song. I would try to find a run or an ad-lib I can throw in it.
Okay.
So, but that really helps me get in my creative space because sometimes you got to find ways to keep yourself motivated because not every day is going to be a great day. Not every day you're going to just be like, oh, this is going to be, I'm just going to rock it out today. Like, no, it ain't going to be like that. So you have to find ways. And so for me, when I'm listening to music and listening to certain artists that, do all the runs, and that's a lot of 90s music because they do all the runs. The best ad-libs happened in the 90s music. And some 80s too. But yeah, so listening to that music and just finding what my groove is to stay in my creative space, to stay in my bag, that you got to know that as an entrepreneur for sure.
Okay. Which now I'm guessing like I'm driving down the street towards business. So is it college where you take up some business classes? Where are you thinking to yourself like, let me get into this business thing?
That's funny. So in high school, I had an algebra teacher. So math has always been fun for me, easy for me. And so I asked my algebra teacher, what kind of career can I get, with doing numbers? And she was like, accounting. And I was like, do they make money though? Like, do they really make money? Because I ain't trying to be broke. And she was like, no, they make good money. You can be a CPA. And I was like, okay. So after high school, I said, I don't want to be a struggling actor. I don't want to go through that process. I want to find a way to make money and make money quick. So I went to school for accounting. I majored in accounting in undergrad, got my degree. And as soon as I got my degree, I got the call for my first job offer. And I was so excited because of what he was telling me. Oh, this is the job. You start this day. Here are the benefits you're to pay. Like he's running down like everything that somebody would want to hear when they're looking for a job. And I was so excited. So much that I was like, I want to be that person. Like I want to be the person on the other end telling somebody, hey, you got a job. Let me tell you all about it because we about to hire you. Like that kind of joy was the kind of joy that I wanted to be a part of in the workplace. Because growing up, I didn't see anybody in my family that was happy to go to work. Everybody was like, oh, I got to go to work. So see y'all in a few hours. It was like, Why are you going? Because you're so sad. And so I wanted to be on a personal mission to make the workplace a better place because we spend too much of our time at work to make it an unhappy experience. So I wanted to contribute to making the workplace a more positive workplace where everyone is like, at least when I come to work, I can still have some joy. I can still be happy. I can still be myself. And I wanted to create that. So I ended up working in accounting and finance for 3 years. And then going back to school to get my master's in human resources and organizational development. And then once I got my master's, I ended up diving into HR, and then my HR career just took from there.
Okay. All right. And I was and also you uplifted that joy. So it's like that's like not all the way to call back, but a little bit in that same path.
Yeah.
Human resources, definitely something that this Detroit is a union town. If anybody watching from other places, a real strong union town. So human resources and what people do about like how you engage and interact with labor. I think I'm not saying it doesn't matter in other places, but it can be very vital here in the city of Detroit because it can be like that.
It could be like that. It could be like that. It could be like that. And it was like that in my HR career. So I don't think you could ever find that way. And so the interesting thing about being in HR, even before I got into entrepreneurship, I think is that when you're learning about the actual craft, the art of HR, and then learning the science of HR, no one tells you about the culture and how society has now placed HR into a particular box. They teach you to be very forward-thinking, and pretty progressive in partnering with the business leaders and so on and so forth. So you get your degree, you ready to take over the world and be like the best business partner ever. Come to find out, nobody likes HR. Everybody thinks HR is the police, the principal. And you're like, no, actually, my job is to be here for you. And they're like, nah, that ain't how y'all operate. I'm like looking around like, did I get the wrong job? Like, what happened? And so HR definitely, gets a bad rep. And there are tons of HR professionals that are the best at their jobs and making sure that they provide a voice for people in the organization, for everybody in the organization, and provide an objective and neutral voice to make sure everybody's voice is not only being heard, but everybody's being treated fairly. I mean, hence why we have unions, because when unions were started, they were not treated right. So now, in this time, in this day and age, HR is doing a lot better in that regard. But it doesn't mean that there aren't any bad apples in HR, because there's still some HR people that are not doing their jobs, unfortunately. So, yeah.
All right. So from there, some accounting, some HR.
Yep.
You're in two spaces and places where actually any business that's scaling up even a little definitely utilize. When do you begin your consultancy?
So here's the funny thing. When I was in undergrad, I knew I wanted to start my own business. I just always saw myself as a businesswoman of having my own business, but never was clear on what kind of business. And the funny thing is that I also loved interior designing, and I wanted to actually minor in interior designing in undergrad. And I had so many people telling me, what you gonna do with that, with an accounting major? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'll have my own interior design business and I'll do the books for it.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. And they were like, And I should have went with what I wanted to do, of course, because I had a lot of people telling me, no, that really doesn't make sense, or how you make that work, and it's not going to be a good use of your time, your classes, and yada, yada. It was so many things.
And this kind of goes back to that imagination.
Yeah.
And others, like, they're not seeing the combinations.
Yeah, what you see.
Yeah. So, but some of the things most beloved today are like when it was first presented, like you can't go back in time and say to yourself, we're in Detroit. We can't go back in time at a period and fathom this, especially being in Detroit. And so many people came here because of the automotive industry. But it was at one point in time where a car was driving and people were like, why would you get one of those? You need to keep a horse. You know, I mean, but it seriously was. You know what I'm saying?
I'm pretty sure they was like, why would I rely on that? This horse is
This
is good.
It's like we know horses. We be doing horseshoes.
If it
I
ain't
don't know
broke, why
what this
fix
is. What's going on? You're crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, hence the not far from me here in Highland Park, like the Model T Plaza for Ford. I mean, that means he went through Model A, B, C, D to get to Model T, and it's like, okay, now we can offer this, you know, what do they say? It's like you can get any color you want as long as it's black. You know what I'm saying? but yeah, so it's things like that in the path, and you know, it can be tough though because it's there in your mind and heart. So the entrepreneurship is something that that you always saw. Were there any entrepreneurs in your family? Okay, and I often always uplift that too. Like, you sometimes need to like be in a space around the entrepreneurial thoughts and ideas, which just helps navigate things a lot different than others.
Yeah, now I have an uncle who he always had a job, but then he always had like gigs too. Like he was a hustler. Like he always had something to do. Like always figuring out a way to make some money.
Okay.
Even when he retired, he's still doing the same thing. I'm like, Uncle, when you retire, you're supposed to like retire, like, and not still work.
Hey.
And that's not him. So
hey, shout out to Uncle. I
know,
feel
right?
that. I feel that. You know what I'm saying? Hey.
So he out here still working though. So maybe that's, you know, part of where I get it from.
I got you. All right. So as the interior design thing and the consultancy, how does it like?
So how did it all get to what it is? So once I got my, like I said, my HR, that call, and I got my HR job and all that jazz, I was in HR for, I want to say, almost 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
Before like I started my business. There was a point in my business, in my career, where I recognized that this is what I wanted to do. And it was more so being able to develop other leaders. And when I was developing other leaders, what I was finding is that I was pouring into the person and not necessarily this job title. Does that make sense?
Kind of, but can you give an example?
So for example, if you are trying to get promoted, right? And you know kind of the qualifiers and the steps you need to take just to be on the docket to say, should I look at this person for promotion? Now, as you're navigating that process to make sure you check all these boxes, to make sure you dotted your I's, you crossed your T's, to make sure you have been set up for success. If you find at any point along the journey that somebody isn't setting you up for success, most likely you're going to go to your manager to tell them like, hey, I'm trying to work this out, trying to get this together, and it's not working out for me. But what happens when it is your manager that's not setting you up for your success and you're a leader? So now we're talking about a senior leader that's not setting you up for success on purpose. And that I've seen happen so many times with leaders. And at this point, they're like probably like mid-level leaders. And then their next level is to talk to HR about it. So now they're talking to me. So now I am helping them navigate their leadership journey, trying to understand like, what do I need to do? What do I need to say? Who do I need to connect with? And then that's when I recognize, not just for myself in my career, but how important it is to have the right relationships. We talk about having a mentor. We talk about having a sponsor. And a lot of people aren't clear on that because you need somebody to kind of show you the ropes, and that's your mentor. But you need somebody to kind of say, hey, this person is who you need to see. This person needs to be on this visible project. Let me put their name in the hat, and I'm gonna vouch for them. I'm gonna put my name out there too. You need somebody to do that for you. And so all the social capital that's gained in that, nobody can take away from you. And you can then take more control of your own narrative. And so when I was coaching these leaders and coaching them so that they can control their narrative versus the one that the job kind of gave, they give you the check these boxes and you're setting yourself up for promotion. I'm like, well, what happens if you created your own list? And not saying that all these things can't be a part of that list, but let's just say you were able to build relationships outside of work and gain influence outside of work. You can bring that influence to the organization, and that's worth something, right? And they're like, yeah. I was like, yeah, if you speak at conferences, maybe somebody said, hey, can you collaborate with me and write this article? You don't think that's worth anything? And they're like, that's a good point. And I was like, so you don't need someone's approval just in this organization just to say you've made it in life, to say that you're successful. And so the type of coaching that I was providing them, I was getting energized from. And I was like, oh, and I'm thinking I'm just doing my little HR job.
Yeah.
And somebody told me, Erika, no, you're doing way more than HR. And I was like, well, what the hell am I doing? I was like, because I liked it, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, well, what am I really doing? And so it brought out more of me. I was more authentic in connecting with leaders in this way. And so I was like, okay, if this is coaching, I want to do more of it. I want to, learn more about it and really get in the groove of it. And so I wanted to do something that was specific to helping leaders really transform their own mind, their own thinking, so they can really lead themselves. We don't really talk a whole lot about self-leadership in corporate. It's about really following up this ladder that everybody talks about and climbing up that ladder. And so the only blueprint a lot of people know is the corporate ladder blueprint. And then I took that blueprint myself and climbed up that ladder. And when I got up there, I was like, I'm straight. And I climbed back down.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. A lot to unpack there and some more questions. But thank you so much for sharing how that connection of naturally what you were doing and being fulfilled, and kind of going back to just naturally things that you always were connected with, even back in the day when it was young Erika. And the first thing that I always gotta come is juxtapose and throw something at the other side of it. Okay. And my father always speaks about this, and I think it's true, definitely in business, and it can be difficult, but dynamics of a relationship. So as you were pouring more into a lot of the people you were working with, oftentimes the business is like, hey, let's just focus on what we focusing on, like a stoic almost connections, which definitely creates more of a transactional space of any relationship, in which when pouring in more, it's going to become through that familiarity. And it's oftentimes insecurities about like that familiarity may lead to the same amount of work being done. Hence, as you say, like people walking into work saying like, oh, here we go again. I think that there are people in leadership positions that kind of want to lead with like, I guess, more fear than love. Because it's like, okay, we lead with love, then we're going to get exploited. Whereas we lead with fear, we're going to get more productivity.
Yeah.
And I'm just throwing this out there. I'm sure there are like many different theories on this and everything, but I'm just sharing from a lot of things that I've seen. So as you started pouring in more to a lot of the people you were working with, the HR and the journey before you moved to consultancy, what were what impacts did that have on the people you were working with, as far as like their productivity in work, their attitudes toward work, and just things that they were working on?
Productivity definitely shifted because they got a new sense of themselves. It's like they were reclaiming their own power, right? And I feel like when we gain a sense of ourselves and who we are, we also know who we are not. So then you understand what type of boundaries that you need to set. You know what type of things you need to do to make sure you protect your own peace. And at the time when I was in corporate, those are not sexy terms, protecting, your peace and having boundaries. But I recognized myself through my own journey that I needed to figure out a way to protect my peace. So when you're talking about how the dynamics were in pouring into other leaders, some liked it, some did not. And those that did not were the ones that received the other side of the boundary. They got the no's. They got, instead of doing this, I'm moving like this. There have been times in my HR career where I have told my manager that I'm not signing off on a document because they couldn't substantiate a termination. They just wanted to terminate somebody to terminate somebody. Now in Michigan, because of the laws that we have, you can do that. Yeah. You can terminate anybody for whatever reason. You can do that legally.
At will.
It's an at-will employment. You can do it. So, okay, cool. We have the legal right to do it, but does that make it right? And I am not the HR person that should say, let's just fire people to be firing them. If it's an issue, of course, we're going to look through it and see why we're firing somebody. But in this particular case, I vividly remember there was a regional director that they wanted to fire. And it was only because the president didn't like the decision that she made. And that decision that she made wasn't a decision that blew the business up. Like, it didn't cause like such an undue hardship where the business could no longer, stand. But they just didn't like the decision that she made. And so I was like, well, substantiate termination then. If we're taking some sort of disciplinary action, substantiate that. And when it came down to it, and I told my boss, like, I'm not signing off on this. You can do it. And at that point, like, I myself as an HR professional, like, that was me reclaiming my power. Because what a lot of people don't know is that it's not HR that's firing people. Like, a lot of people think HR do the hiring and the firing and all the things. No, we provide the organization, hey, leaders, this is what you have the right to do. You ain't got this right. But let me tell you where the risk is. And here's why we should move forward in doing this. They can actually say, oh, thanks for that information. Nope, I want to fire them. And that has happened plenty of times. So in this situation, when I told her, you can sign it, she was like, she just looked at me like, excuse me? I was like, I don't want to put my signature on anything, because if this person gets fired, files an EEOC claim, and we get investigated, one, I'm going to be the one having to do all the work, provide all the documentation. But then two, it's going to look as if the organization as a whole was going in this manner that wasn't necessarily favorable for the employee. So then it's going to say, who was actually fighting for the employee?
Yeah.
Who was actually speaking up for this employee? And if it's just me, then I would rather my name be on that document versus a document that's saying we just wanted to fire her and then created things to fire her for. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Well, I know it's a lot of people like clapping their hands, stomping their feet, like, yes, somebody was for us. And oftentimes it's like, because I know, people think like human resources, especially like the consultancy, it's a 90s movie, but that movie Office Space, where they bring all the people in, and it's like, so what do you do? And it's like, well, I take these reports and I take them there. And then they say, couldn't that person just do that? And then they start arguing and everything. Like, it's a stressor like that. And a lot has changed in workplace culture, period.
Absolutely.
With that also, in some ways, like any trade-off, it's going to be some good, it's going to be some bad, but it could be more like nowadays, people, social media, all types of things kind of come into play, I think, when it comes to work and things like that.
Yeah.
So you're building this flow and you see what's going to happen. How do you start out, and who's your first client? Not like specifically, like when do you get them?
Yeah.
How did it even come to life? What was that connection?
Oh, I had a lot of unpaid clients at first.
Oh, man. That's the learning curve is like, hey, what up?
Yeah. So when I started my business in 2019, again, it was a lot of unpaid like coaching clients. And when I started my business, I was still working full time. I didn't just jump out into full-time entrepreneurship just yet. So working a 9-to-5 and still having my business, I wanted to focus in because I wanted to have just an HR consultancy. So I thought at that time, and wanted to focus in on coaching leaders. And so a lot of my clients, when I would ask them about, how are things going, just following up, they were like, things are going all right. I'm like, I'm looking for another job, or I can't stand my boss, like, just typical things. And so I was like, okay, so how was your network doing? Like, what are you doing to network? What's your strategy? What events you got coming up? And I've always had success out of networking, and not saying success where I've always had to walk away with, a job or something like that. It was success for me because if I went in saying I need to meet 3 people in this area and I met them and built relationships with them, for me, that was success because I went in with a plan. And most people don't think through what they need to do before they go into a networking event. And so none of my clients did that. Matter of fact, everybody hated it. They were like, I don't do this. This is small talk. Like, nobody likes that. And I did have one client tell me that she hated networking because she walked into an event one time. Everybody just looked at her, turned their head. Nobody really wanted to talk to her. But as the night went on, some people started to talk to her, and then they found out what her job title was. and she was in HR, and she worked for a pretty large organization, like a known organization. And once people found that out, then all of a sudden people started to or wanted to talk to her. And she said, for that, I'm out. Like, this is fake. Like, I want to do this. And so she never really saw the benefits of being able to show up as your authentic self first and then tell people what your job title is. Like, you needed to share where you worked, your job title, in order for people to, give you some sort of attention. And so I didn't like that. So, and that's how actually part of the reason why I started networking on purpose is because I wanted a space where my clients could come and just show up as themselves first versus their job title. And creating a safe space where people can genuinely make connections with people and not saying, oh, are you on LinkedIn? Great, let's connect. And then never connect again. Or not even have a for real conversation because I don't know what you're working on. You don't know what I'm working on. You don't know what I'm striving for and vice versa. So we don't even know how we can even help each other out. So what are we doing? You know what I mean? And so it was to create intentional ways to network.
Yeah, I think definitely I've been on the side of like, man, got a small talk here. But how do I put this? Also, like walking in, and I'm not necessarily saying the client that you were speaking of that worked in HR, but I know I've been there. It's actually going to be a couple things this week that I'm going to go to with me. I got like my own parameters and things, how I go to stuff. But with that being said, oftentimes I think we could take things a lot more personal than we're supposed to. Like walking in the room and it's like, I walked in and they all turned their back. And it's like, it could be like a semblance of that, but sometimes it's just not even, people just aren't even, they're not there. Their presence of mind may be elsewhere or in another space, but we take it and, it hits our heart. And I know that, the perception becomes reality no matter what. But oftentimes we're not like stepping back even further, like looking in the macro of like what that feel is. And also connecting and networking, I would say, the reputation it's going to precede you, but putting like that seed in the ground, it may start like you meet this person here, and then over time it develops to something else.
Yeah.
And that over time could be 15 years. I mean, this is business, and I know 15 years may seem like, damn, that's a long time, but it's sometimes like that. It sometimes can take years for like certain things to line up, as I often share with people, because people will come to me and say like, I could do this for you, I could do that for you. And it's like, everything you're offering, I think, are cool services. And I'm not necessarily against it. But for me to shift out of this, even though I want to shift out of this, I have to reorganize to get here. And I'm a big person in like, I don't want to put a new person in some complete chaos, even though sometimes it is a little bit more chaotic than it's supposed to be. But let me work the transition. Because I don't want to put you in the mix and then you're like, yo, what are we doing? I got paid, but when are we going to start? And it's like, well, I got to get all this other stuff, worked out before we can transition to you. And a better example of that would be editing video. I'm definitely been looking for more editors to work with. Detroit is different now, I want to say, for maybe about 4 years. It's a couple that we work with, some that we've connected, and then it's also like I invested a little bit in like some of the learning curve for a lot of the team that shoots. And I do believe that that's going to manifest. But for that to manifest, it also has to be like the right connection of understanding the way and the narrative and the arc of how I deliver with Detroit is different, then putting your own flavor into it. That's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
That's gonna be tough. We kind of got to tread in water a little bit before we dive in the deep end.
Yep.
And so these first leaders that you're working with, and you're transitioning, building the consultancy. When do you jump over and be like, look, now it's time to get paid? What's going on?
Yes. Yeah. So I ended up, started my business in 2019, July 2019.
Okay.
My plan was to spend the first 6 to 8 months of my business strictly like being out in the streets, marketing, putting my name out there, like getting people to understand who I am and what I'm about.
Yeah.
That's the first, because I was working a 9 to 5. So I felt like I had that kind of flexibility to do that.
Mhm.
And so, as we all know, in 2020, the pandemic happened.
Yep.
So what I was able to do before the pandemic was I was able to host my first and second Networking on Purpose. So in January and February of 2020.
Wow.
March, everything got shut down. And so I had to take Networking on Purpose virtually. And so when I got to the point of paid clients, I didn't have paid coaching clients. I was at this point like, all right, let me find another like actual consulting client, HR like consulting client. And so it was a nonprofit that I was able to connect with, but I was still having people. Because at that time, everybody's money was tight. So nobody was really paying. And so I would talk to people, but I wasn't really coaching a whole lot during the pandemic. And I did a lot of things virtually, whether I did talks and things of that nature. But for the most part, that transition of getting to my first client didn't even happen until 2021. So it took a minute.
Yeah.
It took a minute for that.
Okay. So, and that's how business is at times. It's like that. The journey in it. So when you get to that first client, did you like all your tools and coaching? I mean, you've been in HR long enough where I'm sure this is another thing that's tough with like the editing stuff. It's like you have so many systems already in your head, processing that and like putting it in front of the next person. How did you even go about like gathering and creating a lot of your materials and things like that?
So part of that was HR, so having my HR career. But I think another part of just creating the materials and the structure, the curriculum, et cetera, also came, just couple that with my HR experience, my OD experience, or organizational development experience. I did a lot of leadership and learning and development experience that I have. I did a lot of work in that arena. So you take that and then I couple that with having a strong business acumen. I think we don't talk enough about how important it is to have that. And like when I look back at my HR career, sometimes I think that sometimes I was able to navigate in rooms and have a progressive HR career because of my business acumen. Because there were probably times where people wanted to tell me, Erika, shut up. But because I knew what I was talking about, they were like, ooh, we don't like her. Like, so I'm sure that those moments came up. But I think having that, I think is what kind of helped me really build out my curriculum, build out my programs. And like in 2020, I started my first group coaching program called #Networking Goals. And that was truly the pilot for what it is today. And it's called Accelerate is the program today. And so so just being able to really pilot and do a lot of that work during the pandemic was also really, really helpful.
Okay. So now we're here. Networking on purpose. How you said you did it 2 times before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Let's go to the first one. How was the January 2021? What did it feel like? What was the energy? What was your presence of mind there?
Yeah. So again, like I told you, I wanted to create an environment where my clients come and they can show up authentically themselves, right? Didn't have to have a job title or anything like that. It was, who are you? And what is it that you feel that you contribute to the world, and what is it that you feel like you're giving that's helping people out? And like if we can just have just a real conversation about that, then I feel like we are off to an intentional good start. And so getting people to reframe that thinking. And so I was really excited about that concept and that notion. In addition to that, Networking on Purpose also honors a nonprofit every month. And so being able to give the spotlight to a nonprofit organization, and maybe they may be in a season in their organization where they need more visibility. Maybe they could be in a season where they need more volunteers. Whatever their needs may be to help them with their initiatives, I wanted to bring some light to it and see whomever is in the audience may want to be able to support them, right? And so putting those two together allowed me to really help people close that networking gap of who you know and all of that, so that they can really see networking is more about giving than it is receiving. How can I give today? And if we went into all these spaces for networking and we had the mindset, I'm going to give today versus, who I need to talk to and da-da-da-da. And I'm not saying you don't go with a plan. I'm not suggesting that. I'm advocating for you to create a plan. But I also want that plan to be, what am I giving today? What is it that this audience in this room, this environment needs? And is it something that I can offer?
Okay.
So if you think about it in that perspective, it kind of takes some of that pressure off, and it's no need to have the small talk. You can't honestly get straight to it.
Yeah.
But most people, don't feel comfortable yet in doing that. So I say, do what is best for you and what makes you feel comfortable, because I don't want you sweating bullets in front of people and you didn't even get out your first question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So don't make it hard for yourself. Try to make it as easy for yourself as possible. And this stuff takes practice. So knowing that I created that in January of 2020, and I had a panel talking about like 2020 vision and thinking of like your career and your business, and it was so dope. And so I was so excited.
Wow.
Like I was able to put this together. And I remember talking to a mentor, and I was telling him like, you need to have a panel doing this and doing that. And it was something else that he was doing. And he was like, I'm not too sure about that. Here I come with Networking on Purpose, doing exactly what I told him to do.
Wow.
And it was a success. And he was like, I should have listened to him. I'm like, I know, right? I think you should have.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So definitely, as you're starting this and they see it, I'm big in stakeholders in our life. Oftentimes we look at like stakeholders in business, obviously being like who invests, who works for you and everything. But in entrepreneurship, your family and friends, they're also stakeholders in what you do to whatever degree. Your partner, they're all stakeholders in this. And I know as much as it's like, look, I just do this and they over there. It's because I'm not necessarily saying it needs to commingle like 1,000% all the time, but it is a part of it's just part of life. What were your stakeholders? What was family, friends, the people in your life saying as you were walking in this path of that entrepreneurship and moving in this space more on your own behalf with Networking on Purpose and the different things happening?
I would say it has kind of transferred throughout time. Because again, when I started my business, I was working a 9 to 5. So there wasn't the traditional, oh, you crazy, or what are you doing? Because I didn't have that, because I was still working my 9 to 5. So when I was doing things in my business, they were rooting for me. They were happy for me. They were attending my events. Like, for example, for the February 2020 event, my cousin was working the registration table.
Okay.
The first one, my best friend worked the registration table.
Shout out cousin. Shout out best friend.
You know what I'm saying? So they were doing that. Some of my sorority sisters came out. And so, people showed up and was very supportive of me. And so that means the world to me, because when you have an idea and you put it out there and the only thing you're betting on is yourself, when you have people saying you can do it, I believe in you. If nobody else can do it, I know you can, Erika. Like when you have people pouring into you in that kind of way, it's almost like I can't let them down.
Yeah.
Like I got to do it. So that's what was beautiful about the people in my life that were very, very supportive of me. And I say it's different in terms of the translations because everybody's seasons change, right? And so even in business, for me, I went from I was a corporatepreneur, right? Working my 9 to 5 and still in entrepreneurship, to full-time entrepreneurship. That is a completely different ball game. And I don't think anybody prepared me for it. I'll say that. As much as I was working my 4.5 years, I was like, what am I? I have to rethink this now. And so who I needed to become to be a full-time entrepreneur, there was a lot of work that needed to be done, because I needed to mentally become more disciplined, physically become more disciplined. Like I had to work out and be very disciplined with my schedule and my time. And so when I'm disciplined with my schedule and my time, that means that people, best friend, cousin, sorority sisters, whomever that was supportive of me, now they don't have that access to me anymore. It's not as easy anymore. So given that I'm not in a position to give like I was giving and be accessible, then people are like, well, what are you doing? You ain't got no job. And you're like, yeah, I do. I'm trying to build something here, right? And not everybody's going to get that. But in the beginning, you was rooting for me, but now it's different. I wonder what changed, right? And so everyone probably has had those stories of, people being with you in the beginning, but they ain't gonna have to, or they're not gonna be with you at the end and things of that nature. Like, it's real. And it happens. And it's not like bad blood or anything like that, but it's just that seasons change. And you have to be able to accept that and understand where you are. And no one has ever said like, well, Erika, I don't wish you well. They're still around. It's just a difference in how now I know I need to move in order to see the success that I know that I can get to in my life. So
definitely, I relate on so many levels, and it's tough because I even know other like entrepreneurs in their journey as I uplift a lot of the things that I've learned have definitely been way more school of hard knocks, even with my grandfather being an entrepreneur, my father being an entrepreneur, my mother being an entrepreneur. So still a lot of this stuff is like hard lessons. And I think the hard lesson, as I always say, is when you lose money. Losing money just starts crystallizing all types of things in business, So you'd be like, oh, okay, can't do that again.
Kind of broke. You know how you have a 9-to-5 and you be like, oh, I'm broke. But when you're an entrepreneur and you say you broke.
Yeah.
No, you broke.
Yep.
You broke.
Even the dynamics of like, I think early on, like you have invoices owed and how do you get paid? It's like, what's going to be your posture? You still got to connect with these people. Sometimes like, you got one client, but they introduce you to 3 other clients, and the guy that introduced you to the other 3 clients, they owe you $1,000. And it's like, damn, it's like 2 days away. I was trying to pay my bills with that. What's the dynamics of the workflow and all of this? These are questions that definitely come to life. And the route that I always run with, it's like, you act like your time is more valuable. And it's like, it is not.
It's not.
Not at all. It's just a lot of this.
I have to value my time.
Yeah. Like when I show people, you know what I'm saying? Like my Calendly and stuff like that. Like when I show people my calendar, and then it's like, I'm not saying like all of these things are like I'm important or anything. It's just,
if I could.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. It's just like,
people like, oh, that's your calendar?
Yep.
Yes.
And then sometimes the other thing in entrepreneurship is like when I'm available, because y'all working and doing stuff, it's like I may be most available like, hey, Monday at 2:00, we could get it in. And they like, I got to go to work. And it's like, you kind of got to look at me like that with what I do. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's an understanding, even like the times that I do spend in places and spaces. And it, I think that over time, a lot of the people have become more understanding of the things that I do as they see more of the things, like they see the fruits from what's happening, because it's like, I don't know what the hell you was doing, but you figuring it out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's what I'm saying. And that's why I say it's a season. I don't think like people are, at least the people that are around me, I don't take it so personal, right? To the point where it's like they hating or they just don't like. It's not like that. I truly believe this is just the season that I am in and trying to figure out who I need to be and what I need to become for the next, level of my life. And they may or may not be a part of that process.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And so again, it's also accepting that too. Because so for me, I'm a private person. So my people are very close to me. The people that I hold close to my heart, that's my heart. And so if I have to do that with them, it's a hard thing to kind of come around and do. But sometimes it's necessary to prioritize yourself and put yourself first so that you can remain in a position where you're still able to give and show up for people in the best way that you can, and not give to everybody else, but not give to yourself. But you got a whole business you're trying to build on your shoulders. So,
okay. And in this past year, you were traveling to different places with what you offer. Definitely still doing what you offer here in the city as well.
Yep.
What has been, I know me, I went to one, so the one here.
Yes, thank you for showing up too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I brought my homie Mike Will and everything. We filled out like the questions, and I was like, okay, this is already a little bit different. The discussion, shout out to Sharia, Lazar, I've known them for forever, but it was a cool dynamic of things. I think Sharia, here's another one of those tours, terms, I should say. She's one of the best entrepreneurs I've ever seen, and that even goes back to when she was in school. And an entrepreneur is a person that works works at a job, but creatively brings to life projects that they want to see, like an entrepreneur, but inside of
the organization. Yeah.
Yep. And one of the just great at that,
Yeah.
great at that. And definitely Lazar's energy about Black business and a lot of things, just
Yeah.
like a cool spirit that you had in there.
Thank you.
And the questions and the ways to engage folks, pressing a whole lot more than just like, a happy hour with half off drinks and just walk around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, because it was a whole celebration for Networking on Purpose. Networking on Purpose this year was 5 years old. And this year I made it a national platform. And a lot of people say, well, you kind of did it before because virtually you were all over the country. I even went international, honestly, when it was virtual during the pandemic, which was also great. But trying to like bring it back to the city in person was a task in itself. But this year, celebrating 5 years, went across the country to DC, LA, Atlanta, and made the home stop the last stop. And so it was a blast. I will say it was a blast. And I'm very honored that I could be in the position to be able to say, hey, I went on tour, took my platform around the country to show people how to network on purpose and for a purpose so that they can have more new and authentic conversations with people and being able to show up to give and not showing up to get something, so.
Okay. And then as that's running concurrent, the coaching business, does that like end up being a gateway? As a lot of times people be like, well, what does it create? What's the gateway to business and stuff?
Yep.
Usually, like I say, it sometimes takes time, but does that naturally connect you to more of clients that are interested in coaching?
Yes. And so I've had a couple of coaching and consulting clients from it as well. And so, because the thing is that I help people turn their relationships into results. We don't honestly understand how meeting this person can become something tangible for myself. We've heard of, your network is your net worth. I think a lot of us heard that phrase before, but how do we make sense out of that? And a lot of people would say, get in a room with the right people. What do? I need to get in that room. Who exactly do I need to talk to? Like, these are the questions. And it's just like, at a very high level, you can Google this stuff and you can create, you can create your whole elevator pitch and all that stuff. But if you don't do the work that you need to understand yourself, like if you don't understand who you are and what you are able to offer at bare minimum, you are going to struggle each and every time you go networking. Because at some point, you're going to figure out, I need to impress this person because it looked like I need to impress them. And that's not the focus. Your focus is already off. It's already wrong. And so people have a very hard time in networking because it doesn't have structure. Most of the time we get into a room, we see these people and we're trying to figure out who I need to talk to, what I need to say and everything. And so without a structure, if you don't give yourself that structure, you're just going to walk in like, well, I guess I'm going to be on the wall today. And I remember myself very early in my career, if I went to a networking event, I was a fly on the wall. I used to just, I would look cute, but I would be a fly on the wall. Like I wasn't engaging people. Then I got to a point where I was just people watching and I loved it. I'm like, okay, she look cute. He doing that. All right. Had nothing to do with my career, business, nothing. I'm just people watching. And then it got to a point people noticed me at the same events, the same conferences, et cetera. And then they would say, like, I saw you at the last event. What's your name? And then I would engage in conversation. And so when I was recognizing how I was developing my relationships, they were very organic, but I did not feel like I had to have a face or anything like that. And so giving people that way, that approach in networking of being intentional, you can still be authentic. You don't have to put on this face, and take your time. Like, don't allow people to feel like you have to, like, I don't know what program I was in, but it was like, give me your elevator pitch and give it to me right now. Who do you help? What do you do? And what is the outcome? Like, that is, and don't get me wrong, you need to know that stuff. So I'm not saying you don't need to know it, but I think it overwhelms people instantly because of the pressure. And so if I can have a conversation with you and you just offer to tell me, like, I really love doing this and, I help people by doing that. Oh, really? Just tell me more. If we can have a conversation about it, you're going to tell me what it is that you do, how you help them. Like, it's going to come out. But people want it to come out very mechanically. Like, I'm not a robot. it's not going to come out like that. I don't even feel comfortable saying it like that because
Yeah.
it takes me back to that moment was, who do you help and what are you doing? It's just like, all right, easy, back up. I'm going to tell you, you know what I mean? So I want people to be able to approach it in a very natural, organic way to them. And that translates to my coaching. That's where we were going with that.
Yeah, and definitely, networking events, it can feel like I always bring this up because it was maybe one of the most nervous moments in my life. And I think a lot of people feel this. Like when you go to high school and then you walk in the lunchroom for the first time and you're like, damn, nobody. You feel like everybody looking at you and everything. And it's like, man, I need to pick a table. You know what I'm saying? I got to pick a table where I ain't going to get roasted. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that's in your mind, but you're like overthinking it. You know what I'm saying? And then like, by the time you become a senior, it's like the lunchroom seems small as hell.
You just sit wherever you want. Like, what y'all talking about?
Yeah, exactly. But like, that first day you like, I want to go back to class, Yeah. And business can be in that same scope too. And oftentimes, when I've had those pressures, like you say, it's like you want to definitely more in music. When I was doing a lot more music stuff, it's like you want to meet somebody so you can do something and let's get active and let's make something happen. As like timing plays such a key role of how things function, and when, because that I think I can't stress that as enough. And also, as you say, like, what you can offer, what are your results? I definitely veer off the track with that too, because I don't necessarily know. I know what I like. I feel like I offer some great services where we come together and we come up with a strategy and we're going to stick to that strategy best as possible and how things go. But oftentimes it's like iterations till we get like, oh, this works. You know what I'm saying? And
it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time.
And that pressure of like, okay, meeting that right person. Sometimes you may want to meet that person when, I don't want to say you're in a better position, but where things are aligned, where working together makes more sense.
Yeah.
Classic example, the other day, the Black Men's Leadership Conference. I'm on the, I don't even know how I ended up on this panel, but shout out to them for putting me on the political panel. But Scott Benson is sitting next to me, and it's that classic. If you're on a panel, usually people like trade information, and Scott Benson's like, "Hey, I already got you my number," and then I was like, "Yeah," because the Al-Kibalan Village, I do the live stream for the Kwanzaa Kanar, which you've been funding from the beginning, and he's like, "Yeah, we got a meeting about that tomorrow, right?"
Nice.
So it'll probably be like 5 more times, and then it'll be like, oh, that's what he does. It just takes time because people are moving in the flow.
Yep.
And then as you coach people, because you're also getting into a lot, I'm guessing really what you were pouring in during HR. What have you found? Like what people are looking for most from your coaching, and what kind of aligns it?
Yeah, so the type of coaching that I do, it's really leadership coaching. I help people get executive ready. So it's executive readiness sort of coaching. Because even in my HR career, I focused more on a lot of like talent management strategy, learning and development, leadership development. Like those are my jams. Like those are the areas that I focus in on in my HR career. So when people say HR, sometimes I have to like break it down for them because HR is really a huge umbrella of things.
You got that right.
And some people, when they hear it, they automatically go to, oh, you the hiring and the firing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like, oh, if I have a problem, I come to HR. And I'm like, yeah, but the work that energizes me, the work that I know that I love to do and that I know I'm really good at, is that talent management, leadership development, learning and development spaces. And so for me, when it comes to my coaching, a lot of HR people reach out to me because they know my background, right? Yeah. But for people that have never met me before and they're like, how can Erika help me? It kind of stems from leadership. If they are trying to, get promoted and get to that next level, and they know for a fact they need the right relationships. And that's one of the key qualifiers when people want to work with me, when they're like, no, I know I need to know the right people and I don't know the right people. Like I know I need a network, and I ain't got no network, or I don't know how to activate it. Like, I know it's a lot of people around me, got good talent, influence, etc., but I don't know how to work. I don't know what to do, right? And so how do they what do they need to do to see success out of that? And so that's what I really help them. So it's a lot of things that's rooted in their own strengths as well as their relationships. And so combining those two together, where your strengths can become your strategy and you get your relationships to turn into results, is where my clients see most success.
That's deep. That's deep. And it also kind of echoes a little bit of going back to music days. I remember oftentimes, like, I mean, man, but it was like before Eminem's like a little bit after he did release like the Eminem show, he came back to Detroit and showed up at certain spaces and places, and like some of the other rappers would be connected to him, but more so because it's like, you know, they're the good guy, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got some good weed, so you're in a circle as like you're the guy with good weed, or you're the guy that, you know, cool to hang out with, but I don't necessarily see you in business. You know what I'm saying? So I often think the other dynamic when I think of business too is like kind of dynamics of a relationship too. How you meet that person and when you meet that person and where you meet that person also plays a factor in the business relationship that you're going to grow. Now, do I think that is to a point where, like, you know, if you see the person that wants to be your attorney in a dice game, you would never hire them, but that plays a role. Yeah. So also like in like guiding, like, how do you meet this person? What are some of the, not like all the tips, how do you like even, you know, share like, this may be where you want to meet them?
Well, it really depends, right? So I had a client who's an entrepreneur, and as you know, in business, our relationships are like, that is capital for us. Like for us, it's like, no, I need like, you know what I'm saying? Like we are like, no, I need to talk to this person. And so there was someone who they wanted to meet, and apparently this person was pretty high profile. And hard to get in contact with, like just to truly, can I just sit down and have coffee with you? And they're like, this is a person that I know can move the needle for me. How can I get to this person? And we talked about the type of events that this person goes to, and are they able to go, and can they make it? And so I was like, so now that we kind of map that out, now we need to map out who is their gatekeeper, who is surrounding them, because you need to also build relationships with them, because you are going to try your best to have direct communication with the person you're trying to connect with, but also building relationships to the people that support them, that's surrounding them. They can also plant seeds, because if your name come up, someone will be like, oh yeah, such and such did reach out. Like you want your name to sound familiar versus an unknown name. And so it's a process to kind of get your name into someone's ear when you're trying to meet that particular person that's so hard to come in contact with. And so it did take them, I want to say about like 6 months to really like work a system of trying to plant the seed, get on a calendar. Because if you get on the calendar, it wasn't like, oh, next week. It was like, oh, in 2 months. Yeah. So it was like, I can meet with you in like 2 months. And so they were just happy they were able to get it in 2 months. So they were able to like have coffee, and they have something on the docket coming up. So that's always good to hear that something came out of the conversation. So one, not only did you work a strategy to get to that moment, but you had the moment, you had the coffee with that person. That's the second success. And then now you're at the point where you're like, we are still in communication and have something pending right now that's in the works. So like that's good. And a lot of people aren't able to work the system because a lot of people are impatient. Like we want what we want when we want it. Yeah. and that's not how we work in business. It just don't work like that. And if you're trying to build relationships, if you're trying to do networking right, it takes time, and it takes you building the relationships. It's not just a transaction. You got to build the relationships, because if not, it's just empty networking.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be the first to say, as you said, like the crew around the team, anybody that knows me knows I work so much with Suzanne in the stuff I do. So yes, if Suzanne likes you, it's a way higher probability of you getting paid. Because sometimes even me, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, well, I ain't going to work with them. And it's like, here we go. And I may still, but still, it's like, if some of the people around me in business play such a more vital role than even me in business. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, hey, they're going to work, and that's going to make sure that what we do is productive as a whole. Like sometimes I can take a seat back and work with somebody I may not necessarily like if I know that everybody else is going to be fulfilled in this.
Yep.
So it's that's a key. That's why you do what you do. That's why you do what you do.
So I do what I do.
All right. And as we get to a close, how do people get in contact with you if they're thinking about networking at a purpose, or if they're thinking about like, yo, I want to get some services?
Yeah. So a couple of things. So first thing is that I am launching what I am calling the EMG Network. It's a leadership and networking hub of purpose-driven professionals and entrepreneurs, because a lot of people are in a particular season these days where they don't have a one-stop shop of, I have my community, I have my resources, I have support, and I can actually get some growth and clarity here too. And so created this so that it can meet people wherever they are in their season. What I've learned over the last 6-7 years is that when we are so excited about our goals and our dreams and what we're trying to do, whether it's in our career or our business, we oftentimes don't have the right community. We oftentimes would see the vision, see the dream, see the goal, but not truly clear on who we need to be to get there. And I wanted to help people navigate that process, because we would navigate that process by ourselves. And a lot of us would. I know I have. And so I wanted to change that up. So that's one thing, but you can find me on social. So I'm on LinkedIn. The Erika Monaé Group is my business. Erika Monaé Lewis is my personal LinkedIn page. On LinkedIn, said that was LinkedIn. So I have Instagram, Facebook, all with the Erika Monaé Group as well, and then Erika.Monaé.
Definitely. I'm with it. So I'm interested in that. I was wondering the EMG. The EMG is you. I guess it could also be like executive management group or something.
Nope. Erika Monaé Group is EMG.
Okay. All right. So like that hub is just really going to be like a hub for people that join and get like a collection of, I guess, the services you offer.
Yep. So the hub in itself, so it's a free, there's two memberships. So there's a general membership that's free. And so you'll have like monthly touch points, you'll get a newsletter, etc. So there's benefits there. And then if you want like deeper development, then that's where more of my services come into play. And so you'll be able to take an assessment. It's called Strengths Assessment, or Clifton Strengths Assessment, because I'm a strength-based coach as well. So when I talk about strengths, I'm really talking about like really finding out like the talents that make you uniquely you, and understanding who you are, what you bring to the table, what energizes you about this, like what kind of things you need to activate your skill set. Like we take a deep dive on that, and understanding kind of like your top 5 strengths and what that looks like. And then going through a year-long leadership development experience in community. So it's like the people that come every quarter is going to be like your own sort of like cohort. And so we'll be going through different elements, different learnings, different teachings, different experiences every quarter.
Okay. All right. I like it. So now we close out with classic Detroit is Different questions. First one, your very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
First car was a Pontiac 91 Pontiac Le Mans. It was a gray Pontiac Le Mans, and I got it when I was in the 10th grade, junior. I was a junior, so I was in the 11th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Where's the first place you went when you got it?
The first place I went, my grandma's house.
Okay. All right.
It was my grandma's house.
Okay. There you go. So it's like, I'm showing my grandma my ride.
I did. I pulled up like, Grandma, look.
No, she was like, all right, now you going to take me to the store.
Especially my mom. She was like, all right, so I need to go to this place and that place. And I'm like, how you know I ain't got nothing planned? Man, I stayed working too, so I was never home. So my mama had to plan out her grocery trips with me.
Hilarious. It was even back then. My kid is Uber.
That is funny, but it's so true.
Hilarious. It's like,
it is so true.
Yeah, then the mama runs. It's like, all right, we just going here. And then they be like, oh, no, stop right here first. That's too much. We going to try the other store. It's like, yo.
Yeah. And don't let the Krispy Kreme donut light be on. Oh, it's not the Krispy Kreme. The light is on. The light is on. And that's how I got hooked to Krispy Kreme. That's my favorite donut.
Oh, okay. See? Okay. If somebody is like, you need to be going with the Detroit Dutch girl. I'm just messing.
No, that Krispy Kreme donut light, let me tell you.
There we go. There we go. So next question. You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks.
Okay.
Woodward and Jefferson. You get to play 2 songs. What songs you playing?
Dang, that's a good question. DJ, end of the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna probably judge me on this, but
Okay.
so one song is I really like. So it's 2 songs. One
Okay.
is by Whitney Houston.
Okay.
The I'm Your Baby Tonight. I don't know
Okay.
why, but that song, you can play that song at any time and it's great. Okay, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So playing that, and then Here We Go, Here We
Okay.
Go. Look, that is my jam. Those 2 songs, you can play them.
I don't even know who does that song, but I
I'm trying to
always think
That's
of,
what I was thinking. Like, who was singing?
what's that? I always think that was in House Party 2, but I know what you're talking about. Like and Lord knows, me and my friend. Shout out to my homie Maya. We've been having it's House Party 2. The title of House Party 3 is better than House Party 2 for like been having this debate for 20 years.
I mean, I think I would agree with that.
Oh, here we go.
I'm like, maybe I need to go back and watch it, but I think I may agree with that.
Oh man, see.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna hit you back up and let you know. Like,
Hilarious.
all right, House Party 2 is better than House Party 3, or House Party 3 is better than 2. Like, I'm gonna go back and watch it.
All right, and but yeah, I know it's there, and I'm Your Baby Tonight. I'm uplifting Whitney. I mean, I was born in '82, so Whitney Houston. That was like my mom's, clean up music and stuff. But I remember the video. It's like that's when everybody was doing like the black and white videos and stuff, and like she's like walking through.
Yep.
It was cool.
That came out in 1990, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my favorite Whitney Houston song.
Okay.
Like, I feel like she was spitting all types of bars in this song. I do. I really do. So for me, going back to like music like that I can instantly be like, yes, that for me, I get it going and I know like I'm closing out the night. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah. And I say you'll judge me only because of the fact that they are not recent songs. These are like older songs.
I listen to a lot of, you came in, listen to Donny Hathaway, but I don't know necessarily if that's the best Whitney song, but I feel you.
It's one of my favorites.
Okay. I think Run to You. I don't know.
She got a lot of them.
I got to think about that.
She got a lot of them.
Amazing. So, and then we close with this. You could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
My mom. My mom.
Okay. You got to uplift her name.
Yep. I got to give my mom her roses. My mom, my mom has never gotten her license. Her driver's license, and she was driving a bus. Essentially, she was riding a bus all of her Detroit life.
Wow.
And was all over Detroit.
Wow.
All over Detroit. So I would rename Woodward after my mom.
That's what's up. What's your mom's name?
Her name is Vashti.
Vashti?
Vashti.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm with it. I'm definitely with it. And Lord knows, knowing those footprints of how to move in D-Dot, my high school days, I knew a little bit, and it's not. Shout out to a lot of the efforts that are being made with what's happening in that mobility. I know in Detroit we look at taking a bus like, but in other places it's a very active public transit.
Yeah.
And under this new leadership of what's happening with Mayor-elect Sheffield, Tiffany Gunter at Smart is a part of the transition team. So.
Yeah.
Tiffany's dynamic, so I would expect more D-Dot and Smart to connect, and that's going to help many of us riders.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I definitely think so. So if they needed somebody to consult with them, my mom is available. Okay.
Oh, okay. Your mom will break it down.
She will break it down and say, no, I need to connect here to there, and if they got to do this, they need to be like, she will break it down to a T for them. So
okay. I'm with it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy I did this.
Definitely. Peace.